right, cool. We are here for part 2. We're going to be talking a little bit about inspiration from the unexpected. Now, of course, that's it's kind of hard to determine that because when you're, absorbing art just individually, you kind of naturally see that correlation into what you're creating. But my idea was like, if somebody just only saw your Instagram, didn't know anything about you personally, maybe they wouldn't expect this to be an inspiration. And hey, if it's close to the vest anyways and pretty self-obvious, we're just talking about things that we like anyway. So it's kind of a win-win either way. But cool. With that in mind, Noah, you're up first. Let me go and get the slide deck up.
Okie doke.
Which I need to pull back up because my computer crapped out. Oh my God. I got to go all the way through this.
It's fine. Last time.
It's all right.
On Heavy Art Talk.
Yeah. Here's your replay. Okay, cool. Inspiration from the unexpected. And your first one is?
All right, yeah. So I had mentioned earlier that y'all had kind of put it out like the glass style, and that's because like my probably biggest inspiration of how I render things isn't really from like drawing techniques or anything. It's metallic textures, specifically in medieval reliquaries. Whenever I was like kind of studying or just really looking out for like, when it comes to art history and stuff, I love, the traditional painters and the masters and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, the medieval like minor arts, as they call it, which is stuff like this, has always kind of stood out even more to me than anything else. I don't know. I guess it's just that mixture of like, it's supposed to be very glorious and heavenly, but then there's literally a jawbone and like a tongue. Because you've got the jawbone and tongue of St. Anthony on the left. And just all the techniques they employ there, like with the granulation and repoussé and like all that cool stuff they do with metal. I just think that has been kind of what's always inspired me from early on. And you got the skull of Mary Magdalene in the middle, which is those first two ones are probably my all-time favorite reliquaries. But I'm not Catholic or Christian, but I love this stuff. And I had to include an arm because I love disembodied hands and arms and stuff.
I was going to say, this reminded me of your thing that we talked about.
The Silent Hill piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's showing up there. So, yeah. And I mean, I actually kind of I've gotten several clients because of kind of my interest in this stuff. And there was a series I did where I literally just drew and monoprinted and all that stuff. My own relic, like if I had made a reliquary, 700 years ago, this is what it would have looked like. So, yeah, I don't know. I just love this. God, there's to bring it back to my gamer brain, Blasphemous 2 had a boss that was basically just completely lifted from the skull of Mary Magdalene there. And it was like, oh, yes, I get that reference when I was playing it like a month ago.
I love her like visor.
Yes.
It's so sick, dude.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a space helmet.
Yeah.
It's like a good astronaut.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an astronaut. Yeah. I love that.
Sometimes like I see this shit and I'm like, what's the point? Like they already made the wildest thing I could ever come up with. Those big tongue and teeth. Like who are those two little white balls? Like are those supposed to be the eyes?
I've always wondered that. I think they're supposed to just be eyes, so there's no like. I don't know. Is it supposed to take away from how horrifying it already is?
No, it adds.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
It's like he looks really approachable is the funny thing. Like he kind of has a smile.
Yeah, this is like you were saying, like Elden Ring. This is like a friendly character in Elden Ring.
Well, but it's also, I think, like with stuff like this, like with the incredibly over the top, ornate, like bejeweled, golden, expensive reliquaries. Like, there's also something incredibly sinister about like the amount of money that was just like pumped into this shit at the expense of other people's well-being.
Oh yeah,
and like just like the if you think about like the indulgent, like the practice of like indulgences and stuff like that, where like you could literally pay. And like a priest would be like, it's cool, you're good, you're still going to heaven. Like the disgusting excesses of just like money in a religion that was founded theoretically on the notion of like being humble and being kind to each other or whatever. Like that sort of juxtaposition has always been absolutely fascinating to me about like this era of art within the Catholic Church.
Yeah. This is like some Egyptian shit.
Well, and because also like, you know, when you're thinking about like this moment in history too, like depending on exactly when this stuff came out, it was like right about when there was like a great schism. And you had like the Protestants kind of breaking off, and like you look at this stuff and you're like, you know what, actually, like if I were surrounded by this shit all of the time, maybe I would become an angry Calvinist too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Like,
it's funny to say, that something that's supposed to be very like heavenly is a big inspiration to all like the evil shit I do, but I don't know, this is pretty evil.
It's fucking evil.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
Yeah. Oh man.
Corpses.
Oh, I love it though. I love it. It's so corrupt, but I just, it's indulgent literally in the sense of indulgences, like you said, Caroline, but it's also indulgent in the sense of, I love how, in the other sense, indulgent it is.
Yeah.
Excess, yes. Oh, I love it.
I mean, there's also like, with this stuff, what I think makes it so interesting as a source of inspiration for any kind of contemporary art making is how it's also like literally a relic of an era when there was like a consensus reality, you know, like we could talk about the corrupt nature of the Catholic Church, and I'm not like religious at all, I'm a non-religious person. My understanding of like that period, kind of the medieval period, is like there was like a consensus reality we can't even imagine now. Like people all freaking believed the same thing for the most part, other than like, you know, weird local variants on Catholicism, like mixed with paganism, that were also produced their own really interesting, strange kinds of shit. I mean, Noah, do you follow the Greedy Peasant at all? Oh, you should follow the Greedy Peasant on Instagram. Absolutely should follow the Greedy Peasant. They do some really, really cool stuff. Like they have like a event that's like cemetery. It's like Cemetery September, where they go through all of New York cemeteries. They kind of do this like thing of like medieval New York, which is really, really great. But they go through all the cemeteries, and they talk about some of the weird like variants, but they make like bizarre, like completely bizarre, over the top, excessive costumes that are based on like different saints and different like local variations of saints.
Lucas,
you should
I'm
follow it if
send
you're
me
interested
this.
in that stuff. You'd fucking love the Greedy Peasant.
Lucas,
I will.
I'm making you send me this later too.
Yeah, please send it to me.
This.
I looked it up and didn't find anything, so send it to me as well.
I'm not gonna remember this.
I'll write it down so I text it to you guys.
Sure I also just like one of the other things about reliquaries that just like cracks me up. This is ostensibly the skull of Mary Magdalene. No, it fucking isn't.
No, it's not.
That's just somebody's skull. Like,
yeah, it's like they say they have the crown of thorns, but I don't know. There's a lot of thorns out there.
Yeah,
you know?
I just love that this is like somebody, like some random ass person's jawbone or finger bone or whatever, and it's like in this like gold thing, and like it's there. And there used to be like fights over this shit.
Oh yeah,
like people died over.
Yeah,
like,
well,
we have the finger bone of this,
and
thing.
like. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And Lucas, like you talk about the consensus reality, and it's like, well, yeah, because they killed a lot of people who believed otherwise. So, you know, I'm very excited. There's an album I worked on in 2021 by this point that's going to be coming out soon for the band Molten. They're a thrash band out of the Bay Area. And it's all based on that, literally the doctrine that Bernard of Clairvaux wrote that said, hey, Knights Templar, feel free to kill anyone who isn't Christian. So, but it's very much like a reversal of that. It's like a punishment of the knights who did that. So it's going to be, I'm very excited about it. And it just, the medievalist in me really got to show a lot of that evil stuff. Nice. I wanted to include the quote that he wrote and stuff in the layout, but they were like, the quote's not evil enough. I'm like, I don't know. It's pretty evil. Like, it's really evil.
And here's a couple of things that you've created that have that direct inspiration too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So again, not quite unexpected when you look at these, but like the one on the right there, I did a series called Evidence of Faith, which was literally just I was drawing reliquaries. I was making up reliquaries. So that's an eye reliquary I made. And then the one on the left, so Fangoria, which was kind of one of the first gigs I got, is doing stuff for Fangoria.
That's cool.
The one on the right, their art director at the time had reached out to me saying, "Hey, we're kind of revamping the Chainsaw Awards, which is like their Oscars, if you will, of horror." And they said, "Can you just make something that's like this, but with the award?" So that's kind of what led to that, which led to that, and then. Recently I've been working with like Imperial Triumphant, which of course, Alex, you know, and I've worked with a bunch, but this is the stuff that initially kind of caught their attention as well. So the relic influence has gone very far. So it's helped a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, now I wanna the next time I see Zach, I'm gonna bully him into getting you to do some like cool Eastern Orthodox style, like.
Please do. I need the work.
Just like put Zach in a headlock.
Yeah, please. Now you have to. and say I told you as well.
Nice.
All right, and Alex.
Hell yes.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Oh, dude.
Photo alert. Hell
Which is like, how can this is undeniable shit. Like, that's such a masterful painting.
It's so beautiful.
Right. And the more you look at it, the more like we were talking about with Lucas's work, like there's so many different little techniques. There's like patterns in the whatever. There's so much to look at. I personally get really stoked on just like the depth. And we talked about this a little bit on the episode we did together, I believe. But like when you're walking in the woods and there's like that parallax feeling of like a bunch of trees passing at different times.
Yeah.
Like, this has that without motion. And it's a thing I think about a lot in my art. So without actually literally being cut, I just think this is like, it's so rewarding. Like every inch of it is so sick.
And this was done with pixels then? Because this is
this
in the game?
painting.
Or
No. This is like
concept art for Secret of Mana.
Oh, I thought it was just like really, really tight pixels.
No. I mean, I like the way Secret of Mana looks also. Like I'm a dork for pixel art too, but the behind the scenes shit is actually a big part of like what got me into wanting to make art.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was a kid, I would see like, you know, gouache paintings of Ryu from Street Fighter and be like, who did that? Like, whose job is that? And actually, I mean, whatever. It's gratifying to me to see now that it's like, that's just illustration, baby. Like that is the thing I want to be doing.
All of the textures on this are so pretty.
Yeah.
I just want to like rub my face on this tree. Like,
look at that little red pop.
Yeah.
Top right. Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What's really about that art for like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and all that kind of shit was because the games themselves were 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. There's only so much of a story and so much that they could tell, even though it was masterful given what they had. But they really had to rely on cover illustrations, instruction manual illustrations, and think about it. The original Golden Axe had a painting by Boris and Julie Bell. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get that across on a 16-bit game, but to present it as such is what makes it so important, especially when you start to get to the Super Nintendo with the Japanese role-playing games coming to the US. It brought over that Japanese style of art as well. It's just really amazing stuff. I thought you were going to talk about the game. The art's amazing, too.
Yeah, I do love the game itself looks great, but this art is
pretty awesome.
This paintings.
Yeah.
There's like not an inch that isn't covered on here too. It's like, and that's so hard to do without like just looking really busy, but they managed to not. I guess it's, like you said, with the depth and the color, but it's like looking up close to this, it's like there's not a single spot that doesn't have some sort of mark on it.
But then like you blur your eyes, like if you like squint, it's got like such a direct composition.
Yeah. It makes me mad.
I just want to like take a nap on that branch.
Yeah. So is this from the game then?
No, same guy. I think like the thing is, this was a painter. Like he just did these paintings, and they found him and were like, "We're making a game that has some trees in it. Like, can you make some? Can we just slap our logo on it?"
Is there a book of this guy's stuff?
Not that you wouldn't pay many hundreds of dollars for it. I think they released like a Secret of Mana art book, but it's like all the. No, I'm going to be an asshole, I guess, for a second. But like, I don't really care about the later stuff. It's like all the like sort of digital paintings from like second games or whatever. And it's like,
who gives a shit? No,
this.
but this, like the way that this like glows at the top of that like little, and this is some like post-nuclear trauma. The like mushroom cloud made out of tree here.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, yeah. This is stunning. Yeah, Doug was a big Secret of Mana dude when he was a kid.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, he tried to get me to play it. I can't play video games for shit.
I understand. I'm gonna make Doug talk to me about it next time I see him.
Yeah, do it.
Yo, also the soundtrack.
I believe that. I don't know. I need to. But yeah, no, like again, to your point, like you have like it's like so simple and so direct, but it's also so like beautifully constructed. The way that the red bird kind of like mirrors the big snaky river.
Yep. This is the same thing that I like about like Polish poster design, which is like among my favorite art in the world. Is like it's so direct. Like
this has some like early fairy, like turn of the century fairy tale illustration style, like which in fairness, like a lot of those guys like were cribbing from Japanese illustration at the time anyway.
Yeah, and back and forth. But like, what's that famous like unicorn tapestry? You know what I'm talking about?
The one, yeah.
I feel like it has that feeling too. Like there's a little bit of a medieval feeling to it.
We have those in our living room.
Well, because there's also like sort of like a flatness. Like this is not like a real perspective, so it's like kind of like a flattening of the landscape in a way that like that tapestry kind of does.
It's about texture and color. Makes me hungry.
Yeah, it looks like broccoli.
Yeah, but just like I want to like touch it. Like I want to know what's about it.
I just want to lick it.
Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no! You literally the thing that I was saying was I just want to lick. I want to lick the painting. So like we were better off moving past that.
Yeah, it feels important to get out.
So is this like in the game manual? I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around this.
Yeah, like it's like supplemental material. So if you're like a big time dork like me, you would like look into like what else can I find out about Secret of Mana? And I think in Japan they're a lot better about like we were talking about like no, you're making like so many pieces for that album. Like they would make all this art to support this game because like you know like you're saying like you can't just look at the game and see what they want you to know about the world. So there's this like crazy world building, like this like dedication to this property by way of like, I don't know, artists they actually believed in and hired to like, I don't know. It reminds me of a time when you could be an illustrator.
Imagine that.
Yeah, maybe that's the end of that sentence. I
think a lot of it feel about this stuff. It's like a feeling of sadness, or like, oh man, they used to care about what this stuff was like. I can't remember the last most of recent video games. I can't remember the last box art that I can't remember the box art for recent video games. It's just not a priority. It's more just about branding and making sure people recognize the brand, but not making an image that anyone like remembers. You know,
I will say I did start. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Carol. I apologize.
No, go ahead. I was just saying I Googled it, and the phrase box art is new to me because video games is just not a thing I ever had access to as a kid.
No, I mean, box art was part of it. I think there were so many adverts as well because, again, this was pre-internet, pre-social media, Nintendo Power, Game Pro.
I had Nintendo Power back in the day.
Come on.
It's so full of art.
We're not going to out-nerd each other here. But when they would advertise it, it would be like a full-page painting that was not the box art.
Right.
And again, it was telling a story to, again, hook you into buying the product. And like you're saying now, you know, most people are downloading than actually buying the physical game anymore. You're looking at a small cube and,
tile.
Point.
I will
Yeah.
say,
I call it the tile art now. It's the tile art.
It's
for the
true.
video
Yeah,
game, and
it's true.
I think there are definitely still games being made that are like art and like beautiful, and there's like, you know what I mean? Like I love all those like FromSoft games.
I mean, Elden Ring and Bloodborne, all those games. I mean, it's so art heavy. You know,
Well, and even on a smaller scale too. I know Lee, you just talked to Jesse Jacobs.
Yeah,
Jacoby, yeah.
Jesse Jacoby. Sorry, there's a guy named Jesse Jacobs who's a comics illustrator who's awesome, and I always I know their work's separate, but yeah, Jesse Jacoby, who also did all of this beautiful, he did a full
for
video
Norco,
game design, for Norco, and just
He had to
all of
learn
his
pixel
stuff.
art. Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
no, I think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in indie games right now. Inside, I don't know if any of you fuck with this shit. Inside is such a beautiful 3-hour experience. It's like playing a little movie. This is I'm on the cusp of teetering over into full nerd. Gonna spend 3 hours talking about it, so I'm gonna cut myself off. But I know there's good shit happening right now, but it's not this kind of thing.
Have you played Blasphemous 1 and 2?
Yeah, only a little. I played Blasphemous 1. I love the way it looks.
Oh.
But I think it was one of those do I finish this project or dedicate my life to this game?
Yeah.
Maybe I made the wrong choice. But I chose my
made the wrong choice.
Yeah, this is my plug for Scavenger's Reign again, because clear influence from this stuff.
That show looks incredible.
It's this is stunning. I love this, Alex.
Hell yeah!
Awesome. I was gonna say thank you. I had nothing to do.
Fuck you. Accept it.
You have good taste.
You brought this.
Yeah.
You brought this.
You brought it. You pleased our eyeballs with it.
All right, Caroline.
All right. I just love all the weird, bizarre shit that you get in medieval manuscripts like this, but the weird ornamentation that exists for no fucking reason. So I think on the left, I think that's a Lindisfarne manuscript and not actually the Book of Kells, but the Book of Kells was sort of my intro into it. And on the right, we just have a Hellmouth, and the Hellmouths crack me up.
Yeah.
But this is especially all of this medieval art from this era is from that time when you it was considered sort of idolatry if you were to look at stuff and then try to draw the real stuff. So it's very much all right, I think I know what a cat looks like. Let's see how well I know what a cat looks like. So you get all these incredibly bizarre, I don't know. I at some point also I was talking to my partner about this, and we were talking about Islamic art from the same period versus medieval art from this period. And it was Islamic art is you get people with the influence of hashish, and then medieval art, these people were drinking heavily. This is alcohol. So there's a brain damagedness to a lot of this and a depressingness to a lot of this, but it's also just gorgeous. I don't know. It looks so fucking weird.
Yeah. I have that one on the right saved in my inspiration folder.
Oh yeah. That was the thing is I was looking through all of these and I was I'm going to try and pick some of the ones that I don't think people maybe will. I mean, also the one on the left too, that was kind of fun because it has such that Celtic and Nordic influence and all of the weird wheels and knots and psychedelia and kind of stuff like that. But yeah, the one on the right also just there's a weird little face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're just all these little faces buried and stuff. And then you get these people in there that there's just so much unintentional humor.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Little goofballs.
Yeah.
I think this also has some Caroline color scheme stuff going on.
Yeah, I could see that.
Those super saturated, almost teal greens.
Yeah, but that's also an Alex thing.
All right, well. I guess I like it too.
And also too, with this stuff, just the fact that, this was a job and that there were monks that were just chained to their desk, absolutely miserable, doing this for hours and hours and days and months and years,
just ruining their eyesight.
Yeah, well, and which is why you get those little bits of humor in there, because they're just going insane, literally.
Yeah, so they do, and I don't have any good examples. I don't think I sent any good examples of it. Maybe I don't know if there's a second one of these, but
I have a second slide.
okay, cool. Because you like sometimes get these like random ass little guys where it's like
Yeah,
a little
let's see.
snail in a corner
Yeah.
or something. Oh yeah, actually in this one, like in that S all the way on the right, there's just like a weird little snail dude just like hiding out. I don't know. With these two, I just like I loved the idea that everybody's just like jamming these like little patterns into everything. Also the angels that are just like shoving people into the hellmouth with like a fucking pitchfork. I don't know. This stuff just cracks me up. But it's also just so pretty and like, you know, it was somebody was like, yeah, you know, I'm stuck in this monastery and you know, it's corrupt and terrible and I'm just gonna fill this with all of these little fun curlicues.
Yeah.
It's maximalist. I don't know.
I love this stuff so much.
It's flat too, you know. Like
it's so flat.
If everything I create is three, so I'm trying to, you know, capture 3-dimensional forms, but like just to commit to flatness. And they didn't know at the time because the Renaissance hadn't happened yet. But you know, you see people even now creating stuff.
I mean, I don't know what the date is in the guy on all the way on the left, but like some of it was probably a little marginal. Where it was like the one on the left, like is starting to pull in stuff from like a later. I would assume that that's more like 1700s, but I don't know because I'm not exactly like rigorous about learning this shit. I'm just like, look at the.
Yeah, I did go to grad school at a place where they teach like a lot of art history around Catholicism, pretty.
Because you were at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah,
so it's
I would say like
fucking Catholic.
That's maybe late Gothic, which would be like 12th or 13th century.
Okay, that's earlier than I thought.
The Renaissance, yes, 1700s would be way too late. You're talking like Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's just like some. Yeah, I'd seen some stuff that was more like French that I thought was later, but like I also, again, I haven't exactly rigorously looked into any of this stuff. It's just like a horrible mishmash.
One of our really close friends from school, she is a medievalist, and she actually she runs the Robbins Medieval Library for University of Rochester in New York. So just try to be
all right.
I learned a lot of stuff from her from hanging around.
Hell yeah!
Her husband, so.
I'm gonna punish you about this later.
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna pick your brain. This is gonna be fun.
I could also always just send you to my friend Anna. She can you know.
Also that, yeah, but yeah, that dream job.
Yeah,
just like
this stuff. This stuff.
Another time.
I'm just so glad you included this stuff. This stuff is all over our house because my wife is a total medievalist, and this is like her thing. So I think you can get it still pretty for cheap, but you can get a facsimile of the Cloisters Apocalypse. I think for a pretty reasonable price nowadays. I got it for her birthday once, and it's like my favorite book. It was selfish. I really got it for me, but I mean, I love looking through it.
It's been a while also since I've been up to like the Cloisters Museum, so I'm due. But yeah, like I don't know who said it because my brain is turning into mush. But one of you was talking about how flat a lot of the stuff is, and like I think that element of it has actually kind of like freed up for me. Like it's freed me up to like do a lot of like really flat graphic stuff. Smashed up next to stuff that's very differently rendered.
Yeah, like the background in that far left one being like so completely full of pattern, but still
it's so jittery. Yeah. Anyway,
very cool.
Hell yeah.
Jerry,
so can I just want? Before we get to my bullshit, you mentioned something very interesting. I can't speak much about Catholic art. I grew up Greek Orthodox, so. Yeah. Stared at Byzantine paintings my whole life.
Those things are so sick.
They are badass. They are really, really cool. I got to be honest. But as both a Muslim and an artist, you mentioned Islamic art, and it's actually kind of fascinating. Most of it's calligraphy based.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate over whether you should be painting people or not
because of the idolatry thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's actually a very interesting debate in the medieval period about the face. So it was like, well, we're not supposed to paint the prophets. So we're going to paint them because especially in Persia, Iran, there's these Iranian miniature paintings.
Yeah.
They would paint the prophet, but then they would have like almost a curtain over their face. And then other ones they wouldn't, and then other ones they wouldn't do it at all. And it's very, very fascinating how it would turn out.
Yeah.
But kind of like the same idea in the medieval Catholic painting where someone was getting paid to do it. So kind of whoever was paying the person, their points of view would be more present in certain things, whether it was more fire and brimstone, whether it was this or that. So I don't know if maybe the person who paid for this really liked snails. You know, maybe that could have been. Yeah, seriously, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
it's rarely a theological point. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, well, and there are a bunch of these too, where they've got these like trompe l'oeil flowers and stuff. But like, I mean, like going into like the Met in New York, like I always try to make sure that I stop in like the early European art because there's fucking hilarious shit in there. And then the Islamic wing has just some of the craziest, like most beautiful, intricate patterning and stuff. And it's sort of like, it's not like an extension of this, but it's like a different manifestation of sort of like the like illuminated text where you're just jamming a shitload of like beautiful ornament in there just because you want something to look beautiful. And I like that. I find it comforting.
Yeah. No.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Jerry.
All right, Jerry.
Yay! Yeah. So I was telling Lee, any artist I bring up, people are going to be like, yeah, obviously. You know what I mean? I think, what am I going to do? Talk about Brahm? Like, yeah, there's a shocker. So I decided to pick a couple things that influenced me a lot that aren't particularly physical art related. And John Carpenter is a huge part of my life, to the annoyance of my wife. I have a number of things signed by John Carpenter. I got to meet him. I made him laugh, which is a huge like peg in my life.
Check out your shirt.
You know what? I noticed that wasn't on purpose. I just have sorry. There you go. All the stuff behind me. I have Big Trouble in Little China stuff and all that. But one of the things that was really important for me, again, I grew up, again, this is local flavor here. I grew up right around the Brandywine River Museum. And so like 34 years ago, it was nothing but farm. I was the youngest. I wasn't in a neighborhood. I was weird, right? I liked fantasy. I liked Dungeons and Dragons and shit like that. And, but we went to the video store a lot. And I remember my mom told me I would like the movie Big Trouble in Little China. My mom really likes Kurt Russell because of Overboard. So I think she always had like, it was like Tom Selleck and Kurt Russell were like, yeah, that's a man's man kind of thing. And so she's like, you'll like this movie. I must have been like 8 or 9 years old. And I viscerally remember the video store we were in. It was called Carousel Video. I remember watching it and it changed my life. I've seen the movie 1,000 times. It's tattooed on my body a bunch. I force everyone I know to see it. I didn't force my daughter, and she actually liked it, which was awesome. And all his movies are extremely influential to me in the sense that it's just really cool shit. His movies are not that deep. I mean, They Live is probably his deepest movie, and you can like wax poetic about Michael Myers and all that shit. But in the end, Carpenter just liked to make one movie. He didn't do sequels. He did Escape from LA, but that's a remake. And it's just, here's an hour and a half of some shit that I think is going to be really badass. And it has a plot that's as thick as a sheet of paper. And it's really, really cool. And I'm really in just to do cool shit. My paintings don't have any deep meaning. Sometimes monsters are just really fucking cool. And it doesn't need anything more than that. Big Trouble in Little China is my favorite movie. Is it that is it that good of a movie? Probably not. But for 1986, that's one hell of a movie. And it still holds up. And most of the time when I'm painting... What's up?
I said that movie rules. You don't have to...
Of course it rules. But I'm just, but like, I still to this day, as 41 years old, I want to be Jack Burton. who's not the hero of the movie at all. He's a
No.
fucking idiot.
Check is in the mail.
I quote that movie way too much. You know what I mean? Way too much. It's in my vernacular. It's pretty unsettling. But most of the time when I'm painting, I usually have John Carpenter movies on. So yeah, he's a huge influence to me. And one of the more, if you ever hear interviews with him, he's kind of an asshole. And he likes playing.
Just take him as being crotchety.
Yeah. I think that's and he said that he got his music ability from his dad, and that idea of putting music into his movies was just a necessity that eventually worked out to be a style. And then I remember the interview, he said that he got his imagination from his mother, and the interviewer said, "Oh, is your mom like a writer?" And he goes, "No, she was mentally ill." And I was like, that's the most John Carpenter fucking answer ever. You know what I mean? It's like, I got my imagination because my mom is schizophrenic, you know? So that's all I'd say about John Carpenter. I could talk for days about his movies and how much I love them. But yeah, he's a huge influence on me. And I got to make him laugh, which was really, really cool, because that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
Have you seen that? There's like a roundtable interview with him, Cronenberg, and like fucking.
That's the Masters of Horror.
From like before when they were young, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seen that one where he's like fuming the whole time, like he's so mad at everyone.
But that's what I mean. It's not like he's a bitter old man. I think he just always was like that.
Yeah, he's just a grumpy little dude.
And he says, "Oh,
He disappeared.
You're back.
You're good.
I can't hear you though.
Yeah, we lost the mic.
Technical difficulties abound. Oh well. Rejoin.
Yeah, I think he just booted. I'll let him back in. I hate to say it, I have not seen Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh,
gotta change that.
It is, I love that movie.
It's fun.
I really love that movie.
Saw it when I was like 10. Changed me forever.
I would say the first John Carpenter movie I probably ever saw was Prince of Darkness when I was a kid. And
Yes. No, that's the first one. Liquid Green Satan.
Literally made me cry. Yes. And now that's also the reason why I'm like a huge John Carpenter fan as an adult, because the first movie I ever saw has scared me so much that it made me cry as a child.
It's also just totally incoherent. Like, Prince of Darkness is a fucking incoherent movie. It's glorious, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't make any sense. It's also, if you love...
So I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to play my note here. I'm going to push back on all of you guys about John Carpenter's movies not meaning anything.
I didn't say they don't mean anything.
I have this interview from when I was in grad school, because part of the research I did. So he did this interview on the Apocalypse trilogy, which is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. And he talks about what he was trying to do with those movies. It actually is pretty deep, actually. Like, if The Thing was his, like, the horror of biology, Prince of Darkness is literally the horror of nature. It's why they're like, they've got theoretical physicists in a Catholic church, like, doing this, like, semi-theological, like, deep dive into the nature of nature, right? So that's the horror of nature. And then In the Mouth of Madness is the horror of reality, like whether or not reality is even real. So he was like, he was working on some levels there. He was working on levels.
I'm not saying it didn't have any levels to it. I'm just saying it's just cool.
Yeah, no, but he did it in a cool way.
Yeah, exactly. Like In the Mouth of Madness, in the end, is just a badass movie. And the funny thing about Prince of Darkness, if you watch it, the music only stops twice in the movie. It is literally a consistent synth soundtrack that literally beats up the tension of the movie. Yeah. And I never realized that when I was a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, why is my heart racing?
Also,
Jerry, Jerry,
I think we got John Carpenter scoring our talk here.
Jerry, you have this like crazy like sound defect that's happening right now, but it also sounds like weird like synth hits.
Yeah,
so it's absolutely perfect.
Oh, that was funny.
Still,
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. It's
like
awesome.
Someone's hitting like a bass note.
There's Liquid Green Satan in your iPad. Uh,
Well, I'll come back
causing-
and return.
Oh, the anti-god.
Yeah.
the anti-god. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of digging it.
I mean,
We'll see.
maybe
we might not be able to
yeah.
avoid it. So
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, no,
I
Prince
do
of
love
Darkness
The
is like-
Thing. That's
Yeah.
my like horror movie because it works on so many different levels of like it's kind of like a whodunit, you know, kind of quality to it, and of course
Mhm.
the creature design is
Yeah.
so cool.
Visually,
Yeah.
like I feel like we all owe something to that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah. To me, my favorite thing out of any John Carpenter movie is in Prince of Darkness. In Prince of Darkness, those shots, those weird shots that zoom
Yup.
in on the church,
Yup.
they scare they're like the scariest
too.
thing ever to me. Of
Yeah,
like
like
death or the devil.
The dream video thing, like the weird.
Yeah.
That
Which
was what would
actually-
like make me
So
cry as a
cool.
child,
So the
honestly.
dream video is also sampled in DJ Shadow's Introducing in Changeling, and when I put that together, like my mind like exploded. Like the song
Oh, man.
Changeling Transmission 1 on Introducing by DJ Shadow has them being like, this video is coming to you from the year 1999 at like the end of
Ugh.
it's fucking awesome.
It's
Yeah,
so
my God.
scary.
So creepy.
Am I still
So good.
sent?
Also,
What's
not yet.
best casting of
Someone
Alice
name.
Cooper in a movie ever, right?
Yeah.
Just
Alice
some dude.
Cooper is like the
Alice
weird
Cooper's
possessed homeless guy who
So-
starts like
so fucking scary in that movie.
the legion of
No,
like
but
yep. We got the synth
yeah,
hits
that
again.
movie is wild, and they're all good. They only get really. Is it going back again?
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's just who you are now. It's fine.
either that or you go back to the headphones. We have lowered the kickback. It's
All right. Anyway, John
It's fine.
Carpenter.
John Carpenter.
Watch
It is what it is. It's okay.
it. Move on.
all right. I'm going to change the vibe a bit, and I mentioned this because of the piece I was showing, but this kind of stuff is very inspiring to me, especially from a technical perspective. So somebody I really, really like is Thomas Schaller. He does a lot of, demos and stuff. Like all this stuff is like online. He's got, huge Instagram following and everything. Seems like a really genuine, good person. I have a book of his and I like, reading through some of his comments beyond just looking at his work. But yeah, I mean, I don't like drawing buildings at all. And he's an architect, and that was his job for a long time. Then he wanted to basically loosen up by doing watercolor. There's another artist, Andy Evanson. He's the one on the right here, who also is somebody that I really, really enjoy his work. And he was a scientific illustrator, which was very, tight type of work. And then he sought watercolor to loosen up as well. And Jae Hyun-sung here on the left, he's a Korean artist. He's mostly known for his watercolor portraits, which are completely unreal. But, just for the sake of this, like it's really the wet on wet style of landscape type of watercolor that I've just been really interested in lately. That doesn't mean that's all I'm going to do. It just means when I have 2 hours to kill and I want to try a challenge, this is where I want to challenge myself. And I mean, just look at the one on the left here with like the columns. The fact that he was able to do those soft transitions in the background and not be like completely cut off when he had to hit those columns, like that's so difficult to do from a wet on wet watercolor perspective. So like, it's just unreal how well he can interpret a scene, make it captivating, use whatever colors he wants, and it brings life to the scene. So I just find this stuff so intriguing because it's kind of the opposite of what to say I'm known for is, I don't mean to, I'm a small artist, but like the type of stuff that I'm mostly known for is highly detailed, pretty tight stuff. But this is in a lot of ways true artistry to me. So I don't know if you guys like this kind of stuff, but for me, it's just, I almost like replay the strokes and it adds to that enjoyment of the work.
Well, the shadow in that arch on the right, it goes from yellow to purple to blue in this way that's just like
Yeah.
Like the way he's using color is really gratifying. I think like, yeah, this sort of thing, there's a new like PBS American Masters episode about Hopper, and you get to see some of his like watercolor work, which is not shown quite as much, and there's a little bit of that in there as well that I think you would probably dig. But like, you know, the really like vibrantly colored shadows that you get in some of these, I think, you know, that's a really fun, I don't know. Yeah, it's a fun visual thing.
Like, look at that car.
Yeah.
That's not what that looks like. It looks fucking awesome. Like, this shit is like absolutely irresistible to me. Like,
yeah,
it's like eating like a nice piece of toast.
Yeah,
it's so like, it's just perfect. Look at the shadows, like the choices of shapes he made in the left one. Like, fuck me up.
I know, dude. And it's just like I think it's also something that because yes, you have to use your imagination with this stuff, but it's something that like every year I hope that I get better at this practice. You know what I mean? Like there's a little more like consistency to it. You know, like I don't know how to say this exactly. When you come up with stuff from your imagination, there's nothing necessarily to measure it to, or like you could, but I choose not to. But when I see watercolors, it's like there's more objective truths to like this was successful because of this, or at least that's how I interpret it. So it's like something to like kind of chase throughout my life. You know what I mean? Like maybe when I'm 60, I can make something close to as good as this.
Well, and I mean with stuff like this too, though, that like I think the fact that he's rendering stuff that is sort of more realistic,
yeah,
I think also throws into sharper relief where he's taking liberties and like making choices to like pull back, like the trees and the thing on the left. Those are just some like blobby shapes where he's just like let the actual pigment kind of do a lot of the work for him. And so there's like it's very tightly controlled, obviously, but there is like a tactical deployment of like the spontaneity of the media, where he's like, oh, it's cool. The wet on wet little silhouettes have got this for me, and like your brain's just going to fill in the rest.
Exactly.
It's smart.
Yeah, it's like you're filtering the real world through theoretically your trained eye to make the most beautiful version of the like actual world we live in, which is like a whole separate skill from just making something from the ground up, you know? I think I understand. Like I think about this stuff too. I don't really do this kind of thing, but I hold it in like very high regard.
Well, it doesn't take him a lot of time either, you know, but what takes time is to get to this skill level. Right. That's why I kind of see watercolors like a performance. It's not once you have the piece in front of you, you can make something that's this good in about 4 to 5 hours, but it's 10,000, 20,000 hours to get even close to as good as this.
Right. Yeah. The concept that you're seeing a lifetime in one image is like, it gives you chills.
Yeah, it makes you wonder like how much of this stuff when they're doing this, I mean, how much of it's really conscious anymore, right? Like a lot of these moves that you're kind of agonizing over would have been, you know, half a second, 2 seconds for him to make the move and then just move on to the next thing. Like there's just an unconscious understanding of where to be loose, where to try to tighten up. Even then, like with all kinds of painting, it's always a logic of like building up layers. So, you know, everything kind of starts loose at first. And so just, you watch these guys, like, you know, you watch like James Gurney, and it's just like they just kind of keep their brush moving no matter what, right?
Yep.
And that can be a hard thing to do. Like people, like when you're starting out too, you want to sometimes agonize over every mark, and that's how you make pieces that look constipated, right? Like agonizing over every mark. You gotta like keep it moving. Always keep your hand moving, and just learn. You know, start to, I guess, let your body do the talking, as Depeche Mode once said, right?
Totally. And yeah, but you can even see different styles here too, like, which is cool. Like Andy Evanson, he uses a little more local color, whereas like Jay Hung Sung here, there's no real rules. He just uses what he sees as somewhat of like an indicator for value. But like the dragon statue in the front, going into that just like wet on wet blob, but then you see the same wet on wet blob, but it's still in that statue shape. I mean, I don't know. I could dissect it forever, but like I spent about 2 hours looking through like John Singer Sargent watercolors. It's going to have some of his too, but like, I don't know. That stuff just
go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner.
What was that?
If you ever make it to Boston, go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
Nice.
She was just one of his patrons, so she's got all this crazy shit there.
Oh, really? Oh man, I'd love to see that in person. But yeah, cool. Good to hear you guys like this stuff.
Oh yeah.
What if we were all like, "Boo, sucks"?
Yeah, I mean, fuck this.
I mean, you put this in front of a lot of metal fans, not artists, but they're going to be like, "Okay,
it's not brutal enough."
Right? Yeah. But like, dude, this
brutal. I mean, this is stuff that's not necessarily to my taste, but I can like recognize the skill and like, I don't know. It's nice to be exposed to shit that you're not necessarily going to seek out on your own.
But yeah, I've definitely kind of felt that way in this panel too. That's the beauty.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to push back a little bit there because there are quite a number of black metal bands that would use something like On the Right, as long as it's based in Norway, or something like that. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. So you'd be surprised. I'm not the one on the left. Okay, that might be a push. All right, I'll give you that. Maybe a prog band, but you'd be surprised. What'll land up on an album cover or not. This stuff is really good though.
Well, it's a good transition for my next slide. If you don't mind, turn the volume down just a hair, Jerry. But how can wet on wet watercolor techniques be used in a quote unquote metal way? To me, I mean, and I know Mike Mignola isn't like metal artist; he's a comic artist primarily, but he's using watercolor and gouache, definitely some wet on wet techniques. And then for me, like a huge inspiration, particularly in the last couple of months, John Baisley's been releasing these skull, portraits that are heavily wet on wet. And like, it's so liberating and tight in the right places. And, John's somebody I'd love to have on the show just to pick his brain on like how he's doing some of the stuff, because it's unreal. That style he's been kind of developing in the last couple months. Big fan.
Hell yeah.
Cool. All right, Lucas.
Oh boy. Spiders.
Yes!
Some spiders. I don't think it's probably not much of a secret that being like a former biology major, that I spent a lot of time looking at like scientific illustration. But I did, like I said, I was interested in invertebrate anatomy in particular, and so this is like, this is not stuff that I necessarily look at like all the time. It's something that I did spend so much time looking at that kind of just operates in the back of my brain, So I'm not consciously thinking about it, but that's sort of like what an influence is not necessarily who you're consciously thinking about, but all the stuff that operates in the back of your brain that you don't have to think about anymore. It's just there. It makes up who you are. So this stuff definitely like really, really influences me. But like another part of it too, like a more conscious part of it, is like, because I spent so much time like kind of learning about how animals' bodies are put together, it gives you you can be more intentional about how you break those rules when you want to make something that looks grotesque, Like if you're like, okay, well, it seems like with vertebrate animals, bilateral symmetry is like the rule. Well, so what sort of you fuck up bilateral symmetry on purpose, and find interesting ways to do that? You end up with something that like it can be really weird or unsettling looking for people. And so that's one of the things I think is kind of cool about knowing this stuff. It's like it's like with anything in art. Honestly, like you want to know the rules before you break them, because it helps you break them more intentionally and it helps you break them more productively. And so I think the same thing goes with like understanding how the world is put together. If you want to be, for instance, if you want to be a fantastic artist, you want to make art that's like based not in reality, you do want to understand how reality works so you can like break those rules on purpose to greater effect, So that's kind of why I included this stuff. it's not necessarily true that I'm looking at this stuff now. Although I'm, like a lot of people, I'm still obsessed with like Ernst Haeckel's, drawings and paintings of especially invertebrates and microorganisms. They're just fucking stunning pieces of art, honestly, on top of illustration. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have too much else to say about this other than the one thing about it that kind of, I always feel like a sense of like, I don't know, like a little bit of loss, because this was something that you had to be able to do to be a scientist, like in the 19th century, as the academy was starting to kind of formalize the disciplines. Like before that, you could be quote unquote just a natural philosopher, and it was usually something that like men of leisure who had time would go around and study random things and not necessarily try to systematize whatever they were looking at. But you still like you couldn't lug a camera out in the field with you. So if you were out there kind of documenting species or something, you had to be able to like draw and paint in order to record what you were looking at, or in order to create cheap but accurate illustrations of what they call the holotypes, which is like the specimen they want to base your understanding of the species on. So like people had to know how to do this, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's like kind of sad to me that people don't have the same level of visual literacy, so to speak, in the science. In fact, when I was actually in grad school, I helped this biology faculty member write a grant on including like an art component in undergraduate science classes, like an undergraduate program, where there's like a strong art component to it, so that students get better at like data visualization before they go to grad school. Because one of the things they talk about, the big like culture shock for like if you were a science major going to grad school, is that you never really had to visualize data in any constructive way. And that's pretty much all advanced learning in the sciences is like data visualization. So we worked on this grant together about the importance of art in science, and that was really, really fun. But it really talked about kind of the dearth of that thing in the discipline now. People don't necessarily have that kind of visual literacy anymore, which is kind of sad. Just so much great art to look at.
I mean, even to just take that one step further, like it wasn't even just in the sciences, though. It was like a much more integral part of the sciences. It's like a classical education used to be like there were these two concepts. One of them was the trivium and one of them was the quadrivium. And that was like how knowledge was and instruction was organized. And I forget which part of it art fell into, but it was one of the 7 sort of pillars of what you got taught. And I think like just broadly, everything has kind of moved away from it in a way that's very sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like scientific illustration, like I love this shit. This shit is catnip to me.
This is literally what I steal and make into my quote unquote art.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, this stuff is just like, I mean, with any kind of art making, at bare minimum, what it is evidence that something passed through a human brain. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is at bare minimum. All art is evidence that something passed through a human brain.
Yeah. I look at a lot of botanical illustration, and that one's always really funny because you can get like different hands like drawing the same plant, and like you get different understandings of the plant because of like how the person was focusing on it. I don't know.
Yeah. How we were looking.
Yeah.
Looks a little differently.
It's the same thing that's a much smarter way to describe what I was talking about with those watercolor paintings, where it's like,
yeah,
the excitement in it is that you are seeing the real world filtered through a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's why like when I would teach my drawing class, like, we're all working on the same still life. In theory, everyone's piece should look the same.
Yeah.
I have everyone get up and walk around the room and see how differently everyone is seeing the same still life. Yeah. Not just talking about their perspective being different, but they're just seeing things differently. It's a really, really interesting like component of all art making.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else got anything on scientific illustration?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
And there's no echo either.
Oh, nice.
Oh, no, there's the echo.
Sorry.
That's fine. You get the bleep bloops or you got the echo. So
well, sorry, no synthesizer. I hate these 2 pictures. Scientific illustration is awesome, but fuck spiders.
Yeah, Lucas
One
really has it
thing I
in
forgot
for
to
you.
mention this before too. That spider piece that I did for that client, he's actually also arachnophobic. So he's like, it's triggering my arachnophobia, so I know it's an effective drawing. Like,
It's exposure
hell
therapy.
yeah! My drawings either trigger your arachnophobia or your trypophobia, then I know I'm doing a good job.
Ooh, I get the
Oh, yeah.
trypophobia one a lot.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
I love triggering people's trypophobia.
All right, and Noah, you're up.
Yes. So
Hell
one of just fundamentally my biggest influences is drag, because I think it is like the quintessential queer art form, and as a queer artist myself, I can't help but draw inspiration from that and bring it into the metal world, which you don't really see that often, in my opinion. Hence why there's a lot of glitz and glam in the stuff I do and how I treat it that way. A lot of it directly comes from drag. So, I mean, it's just, I could go endlessly about any of these queens. Back there you had Alyssa Edwards, Bosco. That middle Bosco look is tattooed on my arm.
Nice.
So I love that. And then you have Niahulu X and Abora, who are also two of my favorites. Niahulu is on Boulay Brothers Dragula right now. And of course, I don't want to get too far into it, but it's important to baseline realize that not all drag is Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race. Even though I have a lot of Drag Race examples on here, but yeah, I think it's just important how there's such a spectrum of drag. Just as with any art form, it's you could be like Alyssa Edwards right there on the left, who's a pageant girl and is super funny. She's one of the funniest queens I've, ever consumed. But then if you go to the next one, that's
special effects.
Yes, that's Orgotic on the left there, and they just made it into the finale of Dragula, which premieres tomorrow night. So we're gonna find out. By the time this is out, we'll know who the winner is. But Orgotic doesn't do it like anybody else. So yeah, you can be a pageant girl or you can be that. And that's what I love about it. And I found Orgotic while I was working on the Libertine Captor piece, and there's a direct line as to how they construct their outfits. Instead of using regular makeup, they use saran wrap on their face and then paint the saran wrap. That's kind of the basis of most things that Orgotic does. And I don't know. I love it. And again, it's very enriching. And, as a person who didn't even come out until I was 25, it's something that helped me, and it helped actualize my art in a way that I felt was missing beforehand, because I wasn't pulling direct influences from, we talked about this, but, influence isn't just directly what you see. It's, how you feel and how you consume things. And, yeah, it's a big part of it. I mean, there on the right, this is a core example. That's Ader Black, who's an Italian drag artist. And because, one of my major clients is Ghost, and I've been working with them a lot over the last couple years, there is a lot of overlap with Ghost and drag. And there's a ton of drag fans that love Ghost and vice versa. Because if you go to a Ghost show, it's a lot more like a kind of a high production drag show than it really is like a metal show, because they're not super metal-y, but that's what I love about that. You see those influences. I think also too, because you could see it because the queer community within the Ghost fan base is huge. And I think it's because there's a lot of that crossover. I mean, Papa Emeritus might as well be a drag king when it comes to his performance. So, which is something that I don't see in a lot of other places within this area. Obviously, you had Kiss, which I mean, a lot of people attribute to, but
they're also homophobic as shit.
Meanwhile, Ghost is donating to funds for trans kids, so that's a big deal, and that's very important. So, but then you have King Diamond and stuff. Yeah, okay. So moving on, here are just pictures of me with various drag artists. I mean, that's me and my wife. That's with the Boulay Brothers. a great introduction to alternative drag is watching the Boulet Brothers Dragula, because there's been so many. What's that?
I've never heard of it. Well, I saw your stuff on stories, but like, where can you watch that?
It's on Shudder. It's basically
Shudder.
evil.
Oh, Shudder, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's basically evil Drag Race, and instead of like, so when it comes to eliminating the drag performers, instead of like lip sync. So on Drag Race, you lip sync for your life. So you perform a lip sync if you're in the bottom. Whoever wins the lip sync stays.
Stay.
In Dragula, it's like a fear factor challenge. So
hell yes.
Yeah, it's utterly insane. And I just love what they're doing because they're kind of bringing the grit back into drag on a mainstream platform. Because you go to local shows and stuff and you'll see that. But Drag Race has kind of, as much as I'm a huge Drag Race fan, it's kind of washed some of that out of it. And it's the very pristine, the very clean drag. Yeah. And meanwhile, you know, you have people like Victoria Elizabeth Black, who on the left, on the right one there, but on the left to me, of course, I'm freaking out. But yeah, she's incredible. She won. There was like an All-Stars season recently. The production's pretty low in the first couple seasons, but
that's mostly what I remember. I tried it a little while ago, and it's like it's all the like drag is great, but the production was rough.
Yeah, well, if you start at like season 3, the production is really good.
All right.
So because now the production is like super high end. But 3, 4, and then there's an All Stars, which is called Titans, which I just saw the tour of, which is what this is. And then the season 5, which is happening right now, which is awesome. Hoso Teratoma in the middle there. She's amazing. Melissa B. Fierce.
Yeah, I mean her name?
Hoso Teratoma.
I love
it. It actually comes from the fact that she was a cancer survivor. So, you know, I don't know. It's just like such an empowering thing to witness. And like, again, it's something I had been a big, like I've always been a big John Waters fan, and Divine was a big inspiration to me when I was younger. But like, I had not fully engrossed myself in the culture until recent years. And it's amazing to see how it like rounded out what I make. So again, it's not like I'm literally like drawing from another style. It's just that I don't know, it's the culture and it's the everything about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The horror elements of all of these costumes are so like stunning and thoughtful too.
Yeah. Yeah. They do a Monsters of Rock challenge on every season of Dragula where they perform usually a not very good song, but it's a Orgotic on the left there. He led the most recent one of the groups, and it was like, again, it was a song by the Boulet Brothers, and their music is not their strong suit, but yeah, it's like how RuPaul's music is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Great.
Yeah. Every time they had to do a RuPaul music video, I'm like, could we choose somebody else?
God, I know. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah.
This is
Orgotic
awesome.
is amazing. Ugh. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. This is something that, you know, I just don't know a lot about. My wife's into it a lot, but I don't think she's ever heard of the Dragula show. I bet she would like it if we had a Shudder account.
Yeah. Well, it's worth it, man. I mean, it is just so they get into it. I mean, the drama is high because they just are at each other's throats, but it's so fierce and I love it so much.
Was this in Savannah that you saw the tour?
That's Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta? Okay. Cool.
Not a lot of bigger acts come to Savannah. They sometimes do. I think I included another photo with another photo shoot that was in Savannah. But yeah, this was in Atlanta last year.
Yeah, your other... I cut it at this slide, but it was Trixie Mattel, right?
Yeah, I was with Trixie Mattel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw Trixie and Katya, and that was a hilarious, phenomenal show. But yeah, there's a lot of great performers in Savannah, though. You know, House of Gunt puts on an amazing show. Like Shrimp Etouffee is amazing. Boris Kraloff, who's a drag king, did an entire lip sync performance to a Zach Baggins, some sort of excerpt from a Ghost Adventures show. So it was wild. So
amazing.
Fun.
I still can't get over House of Gunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
that's just
That's awesome.
beautiful.
They're so great. Yeah.
You know,
Whenever I
what's, you
can
know,
get into Savannah, it's awesome to see them.
you know what's cool about this, Noah, is I've had friends in the past that were in the LGBTQ plus community that a couple of them were into the drag and did it, and it was really, really fascinating to see. I personally never got it. I don't get cosplaying. It just was never something that I got what it was. But what I think is cool and what I love seeing on your stories and how you're talking about it now is seeing how you're responding to it.
Mhm.
And even though, okay, yeah, I don't get it. Not like, I mean, I get it, but you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I don't get the influence that you do from it, but it's
Mhm.
so awesome to hear you talk about it. And I can totally see how this works into your artwork as who you are. And all that. So it's really, really cool whenever I hear people who are into stuff that I just never got into it. It never did anything for me. But to see other people talk so passionately about it, I think is really, really cool.
Well, it's
Hell
like you
yeah.
for wrestling, man. You know what I mean? Think
Well,
of how passionate
yeah.
you are about wrestling.
Well,
That's true. You don't. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it's
Direct
funny.
parallel.
it's funny you say that because RuPaul has many a times referred to wrestlers as just drag queens who are being
Oh, 100%. 100%. Oh,
so
yeah.
there's so much
Yeah.
crossover in those areas. It's,
Totally.
it's pretty wild.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. We got Alex.
Yes.
So looking at these, it's like not a surprise at all, and I don't know why I thought this would not be obvious.
You're right.
But yeah, also we talked about it earlier today, like just backgrounds from animation, man. Like Maurice Noble did all the like Looney Tunes shit I love.
This is Barry Jackson. I forgot to credit it.
Yeah. This one, the one on the left, looks like, you know, the Roku. Like if you let your Roku just kind of go to sleep.
Roku City.
Yes.
This looks like the most fucked up Roku City possible. Which I mean that as a compliment, but whatever. This shit is the best. It's like the texture in it is so fun. It's like foggy, over airbrushed almost, but just like throwing some teeth somewhere they don't belong. Obviously, is
I am always for that.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I just think this shit's like fucking rad.
This is from Cool
World, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bad movie,
Dude, that movie fucked me up as a kid. I don't know why. Noids and tunes. That's all I remember about it. Yeah.
it's like a real horny, stupid version of Roger Rabbit, which already pretty horny.
With
Yeah,
Brad
I was
Pitt,
gonna
right?
say.
But yeah, like this stuff
Early
is,
Brad
like,
Pitt.
Yeah.
Gabriel.
early, yeah, fuck. Just the same way that those like watercolor paintings are irresistible to me. This stuff is like, I could look at it all day, you know. And just like the composition and the like on the one on the right in particular, like that just feels so like wild. I feel like I should not be seeing this, but it's really like locked in. Everything is sturdy as shit. Just like a really nicely organized image. I love the like highlight on the bottom of the teeth.
Yeah. I mean,
some
the
real-
curvature is so cool.
Yeah. I don't think there's like, we can't get too deep on this because there isn't a whole lot to it, but I think it's rad. I think about it a lot.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. We're trucking along. Caroline.
Okay. So these are actually all photos that I've taken over time. I just like when I encounter random ornamental shit on buildings, on like elements of like furniture or whatever, I just think it's lovely. But there's something about it that's like very comforting to me because this is shit that it's there because somebody was just like, you know what, I'm gonna put something on this that serves absolutely no function other than it's pretty. So, you know, it's literally just like tacking some pretty shit onto something that's supposed to be functional. Again, like what Alex was saying, that's pretty surface level for me, but like I don't know how surprising this one even is.
Well, how does it come into your work usually? Like, how would you use this?
Oh, I just like jam this kind of shit on everything.
That third from the left one, I feel like I've seen in your art.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know. I just like I end up putting a lot of this shit like onto bodies and into like wood and like into organic figures, and I don't know. I shamelessly steal a lot of this stuff sometimes, but I like the idea of just like putting stuff onto surfaces just purely decoratively.
You know, like maybe like a like the broad, like flat-footed response to this too is like I kind of do the same thing. I don't use it in my work necessarily, although sometimes now with some of the fantasy artwork it may be more. But I do will just like take pictures of any kind of architectural ornamentation that like grabs me when I see it. I'm always looking at buildings whenever I'm walking around. I don't just sort of have tunnel vision. I love to look around. And for me, it's like always, it's like evidence that people kind of cared about you living with the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's evidence of care. It's like, people are going to live with this building. It should be nice. It should be, there should be things it should be visually pleasing in some way, you know? And I always love this stuff because its attitude about what constitutes visually pleasing is put labor into it, like work. Like put work into it. That's what will make it look pleasing. So I'm always kind of taking the same kind of photos.
Yeah, I just like have so fucking many of these photos. Yeah, and like there's all sorts of different versions of this. These are like a couple of blocks from each other in like fucking Pasadena. I just like I love how much random shit is on this optometry building sign for reasons.
Yeah. Well,
like this tile work,
right? You can see it all.
Well, true story. I don't know also like the history of that building and like maybe what if it used to be something else or whatever. I don't know. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like the tiling on the bottom of this, like it was like a pool supply. It wasn't pool supplies, but it was like something similarly prosaic where you're just like, this is just like boring ass like retail store. But like, I don't know, like I see it on like apartment buildings and like random, like, I don't know. I'm a total magpie about this shit. And like to Lucas's point, there's something really sweet and hopeful and like restorative of your faith in humanity that people just put pretty shit on stuff.
Yeah.
That serves no function other than to be like, hey, I want this to be nice for you to experience.
Well, like, why shouldn't the world be beautiful? Why shouldn't the things that we own and use look nice, you know? Yeah,
it's like a total, I don't know if you ever read the kids' book, Mr. Rumphius, but it was this, it's this children's books where, like, the main character gets told that she has to do 3 things before she dies. She has to, like, travel the world, live by the sea, and then do something to make the world more beautiful. And I always thought that, like, that, like, stuck with me.
I think, too, it's kind of cool because, you've lived in New York and you have such a different life experience because of that versus me living in Atlanta, which is like a newer city and you're in the older city. So, like, this stuff, I don't see that often. Not that Atlanta isn't beautiful, but Atlanta's probably a little more like nature beautiful than building beautiful. So I don't get that inspiration on a daily basis, Like I live near a lot of wildlife, which is a bit different.
Yeah, well, and that was one of the things about like these two that I thought was kind of fun to include is that they're both in Pasadena, which like the West Coast is a lot more like new construction, whereas like I've lived in like the Boston area, I've lived in Philly, and I've lived in New York, which like, everything's old. Yeah, I mean, like, not as old as like Europe or like Mexico City was like a wild one where I just like my eyes didn't know what to do. I was like Roger Rabbit eyes popping out of my head every second. Like it was awesome.
I feel like living in Philly, I'm watching all the old beautiful buildings get knocked down like every week.
Yeah.
To be replaced by like a gray rectangle. So I'm like, especially aware of this shit,
Yeah. Oh, and this one on the left is the one that I thought of with like Noah's like lettering work. It's literally just like that one's also literally like just on someone's like incredibly expensive pink granite mausoleum and like a graveyard that's not far from my house.
Dang.
And like the one on the right is just like some building in like the Back Bay in Boston that I've walked past a million times and just love it.
Man, they ain't even got the tchotchkes on the walls in Applebee's anymore. Like, I just the change to all the like you said, the gray,
Yeah, see, the fact that the McDonald's is just gray now. On the
I remember seeing
gray.
I don't
To
remember
be orange and red and brown when I was a kid.
Yeah, I want to see the full cast of weirdos.
Yeah, man, and it's like, I mean, this is doomy, but I don't remember who it said or who said it, but so forgive me, but I remember seeing someone talking about how like Apple ruined a lot of stuff just style wise. They like Apple and Apple stores influenced an entire generation of making things blander.
Right.
And nowadays that's like all we see.
I mean, I agree to a point, but also like that stuff was coming off of all of that like incredibly like clean Scandinavian like, minimalism in the first place. So like, I don't know. I think there's, I agree, but also at the same time, I think there's like, I don't know, like the room that I'm sitting in isn't like the greatest example of it, but like my apartment, we mostly don't have room on the walls anymore.
Yeah.
Because I put everything.
Jerry's got a lot of space in his house.
You know, I was just about to say, no, I've run out of space, and it's moving out of the 16-year-old chic of my office, which is annoying my wife, especially now that my daughter is basically the same thing, just with the lack of a beard. But you know what's interesting about this and these beautiful architecture things is like my father-in-law is an engineer. And his joke always is that he's not sorry, he's an engineer, and he said, you know, the architect will draw where he or she wants, and then the engineer has got to figure out how to do it. And I'm like, look, if it's always function, in the end, I mean, everything like you say is just going to be a big box. There's no reason for a building not just to be a box, right? But the point is that, you know, it's more than that. You know, that's why you had, you know, people that spent years as stonemasons doing those amazing things that people a lot of times, you know, aren't like, you know, Caroline actually observing it, just walking by it, but don't realize how much that landscape actually affects who you are. You know what I mean? It affects your moods and what's going on. So it's always a shame to see those things go away. Now, I have heard that a lot of the grayness and the stuff now, what they call millennial gray, is a reaction to my parents being the boomers were just tchotchked everywhere. So, so it's like, well, we don't want any of that stuff anymore. And clearly, I disagree because I just have junk everywhere. Well, it's not junk, but I think this stuff is like really, really cool. Again, especially the stonework. I don't think a lot of people realize how hard that is. Just thinking of the math of carving an archway or a design around there is just wild to me. It makes my brain hurt.
And how it ages too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just I don't know. I always love the way this stuff ages.
Now that I think about like Jerry, to your point too, I mean, I wonder how much of it was a reaction to just like the country living aesthetic. Or if anyone has like legit boomer parents who did not have a subscription to country living, like, you know, probably in the minority there. My mom certainly did. We definitely had that like country living aesthetic growing up.
We just, every wall was painted a different color. You know, all the different kitchen plates for different seasons. I don't know. There's a whole sociology behind it, and apparently millennials said we don't want any of it. But I don't know. It's a shame.
No, we just can't afford any of it.
Yeah, there's that as well.
The exact opposite. They were like, every house we had to live in had to be white because we're gonna have to sell it sometime. Can't paint the house a weird color because you're gonna have to sell it. It's like every house we lived in was always temporary. So we sold it for another house. It was fucking weird. It's like we're the ones, like my wife and I were like, we want to paint an accent wall in our house now, please, because you know, my parents certainly didn't do that.
All right, Jerry.
Cult. Yeah. So again, going on the theme of cool shit. I couldn't even say that Blue Oyster Cult is my favorite band. Top 5, but they're not my favorite band. But I listen to them a lot. And I listen to them a lot when I paint as well. I have an odd obsession with the Blue Oyster Cult, especially the 2 albums that you have there. To the point that even my wife knows these albums. She calls them the band that sings about fish. which is true. It's, you know, she likes Fire of Unknown Origin, which is the top one. And what I love about Blue Oyster Cult, outside of that, their music is really good, and in many ways, it's just standard rock, hard rock, pop rock at times. One, their lyrics are always fucked up. Actually, the majority of their lyrics were written by a person by the name of Sandy Pearlman, who wasn't in the band. And oh, sorry, no, Lucas. I thought Lucas was flagging me down. And it had a weird Cthulhu mythos. They had their own thing that was sprinkled over tunes, and then they would have a song like, you know, "Burning for You," which was just a pop ballad. And their lyrics are just always weird. And I always love that. I love the fact that they put out an album, which Fire of Unknown Origin, which had "Don't Fear the Reaper," that gave them huge success. And yet they could have continued to make music like that. They could have, you know, completely continued to do a bunch of things, but then they chose not to. And they keep making the music they want to make. They play really small venues and love it. And again, I just love the absolute weirdness of everything about that band and their lyrics. And again, I listen to them a lot when I paint. I don't know why. They create a groove that just makes it happen, you know. So I love Blue Oyster Cult, and they always inspire me to keep doing whatever the fuck I want to do artistically. And that's it.
It makes a lot of sense. Like every album's quite a bit different, and even like one album could have like 7 different types of songs, 8. You know, every song has its own character, which is very different than a lot of bands, especially in metal. But yeah, I'm a really big Blue Oyster Cult fan as well. I haven't delved deep into lyrics, but I did know about like Sandy Pearlman, and a lot of the stuff's just really like esoteric. But yeah, I just love the you know, the musicianship and the songwriting.
Yeah, and the funny part is, like, for example, Fire of Unknown Origin was supposed to be the soundtrack to heavy metal.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the lyrics on the songs, everyone except for Veterans of the Psychic War, which was written by Michael Moorcock, relates to a segment of the movie, and yet none of those songs were used for the movie except for Veterans of the Psychic Wars, which has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. You know, it's Stephen King's favorite band. It's one of Michael Moorcock's favorite bands. And you know, here's another thing that I thought was great. Of course, everyone knows the SNL More Cowbell skit that had to do with them. And they didn't really get it at first, because they're like, there's not really a lot of cowbell in that song. I mean, it's kind of it in the back, it's distant. But Eric Bloom, the singer-guitar player, was just like, you know what? Whatever. And so now when they play it live, every person in the band has a cowbell and is hitting it. You know, they fully embrace it, and they're like, fuck it. You know, if that's what we're known for, cool. You know, and we're still going to play what we're going to play. And yeah, so that's it. So I really find Blue Oyster Cult to be very, very big for me. So
anybody else? You gotta listen. Great band.
Hell yeah.
All right. And then I didn't have a second one. I just focused on the watercolor. So Lucas, bring us home.
Yo. Lucas, you're on mute. Lucas, you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Not really probably a big surprise. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Big fan of Clark Ashton Smith, along with a lot of other writers from that period. So this book cover that I shared, I actually have the original book. I don't know, like I'm like kind of a weird bibliophile, and I love to collect books. I probably spend way more money on books than on music or anything else. But I don't care how much my books are worth, so I have no idea. Like I bought this, I ordered it, I think, from Necronomicon Press in the late 90s, early 2000s. I have no idea how hard this is to find, but I know that I don't ever see it anywhere. I've like never seen it anywhere, but
really good condition too.
You could find it on the internet, but I don't know how much it would be if you go on A Books or something. But it's one of the few collections I've seen that collects just his Hyperborean stories. So some of the stories in here were the inspiration for the One Piece that we looked at earlier. I kind of wanted to start with him because I just really like his I like his writing. I like his style. I also like the fact that some of the stories he wrote could be really light on plot, but could be a lot more speculative. Like that's kind of a fun thing to me. In like weird fiction in particular is like it doesn't always have to be about narrative. In fact, like plot is sometimes maybe a secondary element to crafting an interesting story rather than worrying about this happens and then this happens and then this happens. It's more about there's just a premise and then they just play it out, because that's sort of the speculative part of it. Like what if this was the case, or what if we confronted this aspect of reality in this particular way? So that's kind of why I chose that. I mean, I actually pulled up a couple of other books that are like kind of always operating in the background of my brain just for the fun of it. I thought about this like I didn't think about this until just now, like right before we were going to record this, because when Lee was like, when I was supposed to give my stuff to Lee last night, my brain was like completely fucking fried. I'm like coming off of a terrible 3-week-long period of total sleeplessness. So like my brain is like not functioning at all. I have a problem with chronic sleeplessness, so it's been really, really bad the last few weeks. Anyway, so I thought about this book. You guys can see that. I don't know if you can read the cover.
Wait, I've heard of this.
Yeah. So it's by Reza Nagarsan. It's really hard because this is fucking mirrored, so I can't. There we go. So this book's called Cyclonopedia, Complicity with Anonymous Materials by Reza Nagarstani. It's another thing I read while I was in grad school. It's kind of described as theory fiction. So like it's like a theory book, but it's also fictional. And there's kind of a subtextual story going on in it, but it is fucking bonkers. It's basically about the Middle East as a thing being sentient, like the entire Middle East as a thing being one giant, like not even organism, just like sentient thing, which includes oil. Which Nagarstani has all these weird theory things about oil being the black corpse of the sun, and he talks a lot about like the ties, like solar hegemony. It's like fucking nuts. It's a really bonkers book, which leads me to a book I read last year, finally read. It's been in my collection for a while, which is Nick Land's Fang Nomi. I don't know if anyone's ever read that. So Nagarstani was a pupil of Land, and Land is like kind of another head case in...
Yeah, he's a bad man. But
well, okay,
an interesting man. He's like an edgelord bad man, maybe.
So he I'll describe like the arc with Nick Land. So he starts out in the late 80s, as like pretty like hard, like he's a Marxist. He's pretty much a Marxist. A lot of the early stuff in this book, it's his collected essays basically from 87 to 2007. So he starts out as a pretty like normal Marxist. He's a philosopher. He's teaches in the academy. He has like ideas in the late 80s that like the only viable revolutionary movement on earth is radical feminism. Like he starts out pretty I don't know, like he doesn't have any ideas that I would have any problems with. The only thing is like the first half of the book, when he's still like an academic, is the most impenetrable shit because it's the most academically written for like philosophy publications and things like that. So, but he's doing interesting work, like drawing like lines of trajectory between like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, which is obvious, but then to Freud, and then to Bataille, and then to Sartre, and then to Deleuze. He's got interesting work on Deleuze. He's got interesting stuff about Kant and Hegel. And then like in the late 90s, he like quits the academy. He stops teaching. He quits his job. He starts blogging because the internet's not become a thing. He starts blogging. Becomes part of like this thing called CCRU. He's doing all kinds of, his writing becomes more experimental and weirder. The like early 2000s, mid 2000s, when he becomes like kind of an accelerationist. So he's gloms onto it. The reason that a lot of leftists get into accelerationism, which is like the only way out of capitalism is through. And then like he kind of keeps like melting down slowly. And then by the 2007, when he kind of stops writing, he's basically 180 and become just like a straight up right wing, like
reactionary
accelerations. He quits basically like blogging. He moves to Hong Kong and he's like an economic correspondent there. That's what I think he still does now. He's just like a right wing economic correspondent for some like conservative magazine or something. That's what he does now. Like he's like completely bizarre. Like the last fucking few things in the book before he stops writing, it's literally this. This is what his fucking shit's gonna look like. He's like gone off the fucking deep end towards the end. But the thing about it is, like, even in some of the later writing, he's still like super fucking interesting and super fucking engaging. Honestly, like out of this whole book, and the funny thing about this book too is that it is, I don't know if people will be able to see this on camera, but it is exactly 666 pages long. Which I'm pretty sure was an editorial decision. Like someone.
Yeah, I was going to say that looks like there's an index there, and my guess is there doesn't necessarily need to be an index.
No, they numbered it all. They numbered it all the way to 666, including the index. So that was an editorial decision. But
academia will fuck you up in the head, though.
What's up?
Academia will fuck you up in the head.
Yeah,
as we know. Yeah, so it's not a shock.
It's not a shock. No. But yeah, even his later writing I find super engaging. Honestly, my favorite essay in this is from the later half of the book. The essay Meltdown is just fucking nuts. But I can totally see how he was definitely a huge influence on Daguerreostan's early work. He's also a huge influence on the speculative realists, which were like something I was super into when I was in graduate school. So there's another thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit when I read it. I was kind of, I guess, like anticipating it a little bit, but it was still kind of just the overwhelming like non-humanism of it is, I find still kind of fascinating, you know. And that kind of ends up in, I don't know, that stuff has just been in my work since I went to school, you know. It's not going to go away, you know. No.
Hey Lucas, you want to hear something?
Yeah.
I have Arthur Schopenhauer tattooed on my arm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And not many people can say that, nor many people know who that is.
Yeah.
But I figure you do.
Yeah, no, Schopenhauer is real. He's a real head. He's a real head.
There he is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fucking nice.
So there you go.
The grumpy pessimist from
the biggest asshole of our grandfather's generation, however long ago, 100 years ago. Yeah.
If I'm not confusing it, I think there's some like weird dynamic that he had with like his mother. Probably. I mean, like all of these guys, obviously.
I mean, that's like a fortune teller line.
Yeah, right? But like famously,
he fucking hated Hegel. Like he
big
hated
time
Hegel so much.
He
would like try to like. Famously, he got a teaching post at the same university that Hegel taught at, and he deliberately asked for his class to be at the same time as Hegel's lecture.
And no one would be in Schopenhauer's classes at all.
No one would ever come to Schopenhauer's class. And he was super fucking bitter about it. And kind of fucking awesome though because of that. It's just like
it's very punk rock. I give him that. Yeah, he wanted to cut off his own penis. That was another thing. Yeah, he was and the reason why he's. I mean, he had a lot of bad things about him. I mean, it was the 1800s, but he was one of the first Western philosophers to take Eastern philosophy seriously.
He was,
and translate it not only linguistically but also culturally to Germanic thought. Not to say it wasn't Orientalist, but was definitely different for its time. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, cool guy, strange guy, weird guy, interesting guy.
All right. Well, close to 5 hours. I'm so grateful for you guys spending some time. I hope you each, at least get to like let off some steam. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like people have kind of commented a little bit. I mean, I'll be honest, as an introvert, my social battery always gets tired after these things, but it's like a release, and it's good to like talk with other artists and like you guys you interpret things differently. You think of things so differently. It's always like just a reminder of like, how different everybody views things. So I'm always exposed to new things. So really just want to say thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, this was great.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. Well, for anybody watching, this is probably the part 2. weekly episodes every Thursday, if not more frequently. And like and subscribe if you don't mind. Everybody else, stay behind for a minute. Thank you. See you.